It is Scotch for Dummies. We're discussing ghosts and other things.
That was the OG, as Tom Elkley said. It's the OG show tonight. Speaking of the OG, Sean is not here, but Frank, the OG, is here.
That's
from
right.
that intro back in
that intro.
2015 when we first started. Frank saw the writing on the wall and said, "These guys are going to be good. I'm going to get on this."
And here he is.
Yeah, I have to.
Well, welcome to the show,
He's
Frank.
an early investor and has made a killing on his money.
Happy Thursday, gents.
Happy Thursday.
Frank, you're empty.
Frank,
You're empty.
They give me an empty glass, you see.
Well,
I'm the only wino here. But
we need him to be able to educate us on a few things tonight.
thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
It is a different show. We don't have a King of the Hill tonight, which
Need a
is
little
all
break.
right. We need a little bit of break for that, let it breathe, and give it a rest. But we've got a fun thing lined up, and I got to throw it over to Drew to tell us what that is. So
Well, it's nothing crazy elaborate. We're going to talk about this. We're going to get in this.
Oh, yeah, we gotta talk about that.
This is Starlight. We're going to talk about that. We had a great time yesterday. Frank was there with us. We'll recap this. But I thought Frank and I did something a couple nights ago. He's in town for to see his granddaughter play some volleyball, and we're like, you know what? Let's look at some blinds, and then we put something. I don't want to get too much away
blinds,
here.
that's
but
weird.
We had an interesting discussion. I'm like, I want to put this to the boys this week.
Yep.
So we've got 4 blinds. We're going to get into a little bit later. And I'm going to put you guys to the test, and I'll give more details in a little bit. But it's going to be really interesting to see what you guys pull and declare which is which.
Well, so I hope he gets into the details a little bit later, like he says, because I have absolutely no idea at all what the blind is. I mean, It could be rum, it could be vodka, it could be gin.
Frank thought it was interesting too. So
It was interesting, and I'll stay out of it tonight because Drew had me pour 'em, so.
I did have him pour. So,
But I didn't.
Did you write it down?
He
He
did.
doesn't know how I poured him. I guarantee.
I do not know. I do
He
not know.
doesn't know anything about him.
So I'm in on it too, and gonna show mud on my face. But let's say hi and quickly get to the super chats. First of all, boom,
Papa?
Christopher,
Papa, thank you very much for the super
Papa,
chat.
man,
Appreciate
it's
you.
Good to see you,
That
brother.
was first. That was early.
Okay.
It's an early super chat.
Oh, we got
Cheers
we got a double hitter.
He hit a double hitter.
Hey, round it up.
You wanted to make sure.
Cheers. Thank you for that.
Thank
saw
you.
And then let's go back to the beginning and see who do you guys think was
Tom?
first?
That's weird.
Boom.
That's usual.
Yeah, when I got here around 8:30, I logged in just to see if things, camera, mics, and stuff were working, and Tom was already first. I was gonna put a comment, and I'm like, I don't want to open the can of worms.
Be first.
Right.
Your own show.
Mark, JG, John.
Man,
Okay.
what's up with Mark? I'm so sorry we didn't catch you in Austin. I think I saw some pictures with you in it. I'm sorry we didn't make it. It would have been a good time, but it looks like you had fun. I'm glad you made it.
Hey, John. Good to see you.
Yes, good to see
Pierre.
you.
Boy, Pierre. Whew, we won't talk about it, but holy moly.
We're not worthy.
We're not worthy, my friend. Trooper. Good God, I love to see that guy. Good to see you. Who else we got? Bobby
Almost
J.
first should be my motto. Hey, Bobby.
Happy Thursday.
Justin. That's right. Glad to see you here again, man. It's been a while.
No kidding. Yeah. Francois.
Francois in.
I missed
Albert.
And it's good. There's a lot of people here tonight. Good to go.
Right, Zach.
Wheelhouse.
Hey,
Wheelhouse.
James.
Yeah,
Good to
you
see
know,
you.
yeah, he is an OG and an OG fanboy. So
Yeah.
good to see
Yeah,
you.
he was in
like
early.
That.
He was in early too. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Been around a long
Lockness?
time.
All right,
Matter of
let's-
fact, he's got more kids now. I
Jeff
mean,
Teamy's in. Yeah, there's a bunch in there. So Chad and
Wow, a
Martin
good
and
turnout
Philly
tonight.
What's up,
and
Philly?
Big Ball.
Philly! Ah, that's awesome. That's great. Good to hear. Good to
Roger
hear.
that, brother.
All right. Look at this.
Okay,
Hold on, I
so-
gotta show you. He's like, shh.
That's all,
boys.
Pierre.
All right, boys.
That's
We
So,
outed him.
so yesterday, I'll kick us off and then turn it over to you, Mark, and whoever. But man, what a good day yesterday we had.
Amazing.
Scotch in the Bayou. When was it she reached out to us? Probably like a month ago.
A month or two ago.
Yeah.
She had something planned. They come up to Louisville for something. And
Music festival.
Yes.
She's gonna
Bourbon
be,
and
yeah.
Something going on.
Some kind of music festival that's today and tomorrow that her and her husband Mark were going to
Yes.
attend.
Yes, and she asked, it wasn't just us, it was a few others, if we could attend and meet her down at Starlight Distillery, which is actually about 2 hours south from here.
Yeah, it's about just north of Louisville. So 15, 20 minutes north of Louisville. So,
Yeah. So, long story short, we ended up like, let's make it happen. So we ended up going down there yesterday. Frank actually happens to be in town. He was going to come in that following day. I'm like, and my wife reached out and said, hey, Frank, you want to go? And he's like, well, hell yeah, I want to go. So we drug his ass with us, and we had a great day.
It actually worked out because I don't know that much about Starlight before I get there. I've come to find out that the largest winery in Indiana, 800 acres worth of
orchards
vineyards and orchards and
yeah.
And vegetables.
And guess what?
Ton of
I mean,
vegetables
wine
and-
that's your sweet spot, right? That's your wheelhouse. So it worked out to have him with us because I actually learned a lot. And I was, while we were getting the tour, I was able to kind of ping him and ask him a little bit. And I leaned on his advice for a couple of bottles of wine. We'll see if they're any good.
And I may be in trouble because of that, but that remains to be seen.
He won't be here when we open them. Who knows?
That's right.
But we pull in this place, and it's back in the country as you expected, right? And the one thing it really kind of gives it away is we turn that last right turn, and all of a sudden, boom, vineyards everywhere. I'm like, I think we're running something here, and just everything. And then we pull in, and man, this place is massive. Like it is huge,
gorgeous.
You pull in, you're like, whoa, this is more than just. I had no idea, honestly. I had no idea it was that big. And you pull in, and they got this whole market over here. They've got a
Bakery, creamery,
ice cream. It was great. So we get there, we pull up, and we're getting out. And I think we spent the first half hour just walking the produce section.
Well, yeah, I mean, with the baked pies and the fresh peaches and apples and,
Fruits.
fruit, vegetables.
It's a farm-to-table place.
Yeah.
Obviously, they demonstrate it.
right?
What brought my attention, there was nothing out of place and so clean. Everywhere
that's
you went,
it.
it was
That's
just
a good
clean.
point.
So it was
Definitely.
It was different when Sending Scotch is down there. So we were down there in March, early April of this year to pick his bottle, which is right here. All of the farmers market, the creamery, all those tents, the tours, they weren't going because it was off season. So it's really interesting coming back there now where they are like, this is their season. They are in, they've got their 200 employees to do all of their orchard tours, their pumpkin patch tours, all that kind of stuff. So it's a different business now than it was in April, March.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and we had actually asked during the tour, what their employee base is like, and it really does change throughout the course of the year depending on what time of the year it is. I mean, at a certain time of the year, it's really busy, over 200 employees, and then during the slower parts of the year when it's not harvest and stuff, they said something like 60 or something like that. So, I mean, I understand that, but you're absolutely right. Nothing seemed out of place. You didn't see something that just happened to be sitting there and wasn't put away. It was everything. I was very impressed with that. That's for sure.
Yeah, they said that during peak fall festival season, they have 20,000 people a day going through there.
Really?
So it's no joke.
And that's why they had the big tent set up. I mean, you can tell they were getting ready for it's getting ready to be busy.
And they can handle it. It's massive there. It's a big place.
Good. But the weird thing is, as we drive in, so we get off interstate and we take these back roads, and we're going up and down and through Hiller and Dale and seeing these, you're in rural Indiana there, and he's getting car sick, and we're getting up there, and then we come over that hill, and then there's the orchards, and then you're right there, like what? You come up the hill. Because see, the thing about this this orchard distillery, they're on like a plateau, a high plateau in southern Indiana, one of the highest points in Indiana actually, and so the geography or the climate is different there. You get higher breezes, you get higher hots, colder colds because of the wind through there. So it's really an interesting environment, a kind of a micro environment up there, which is actually pretty good for aging whiskey.
So Leanne was a little bit late with Mark. They show up. We killed some time. They show up, and the realization sets in that we suck at planning, and we didn't call ahead to see if we could schedule something. We were fingers crossed that Leanna did it because she's much better at planning, and no, she didn't either. So I
Well,
was thinking,
to be fair, because she's not here to defend herself, it did say on the thing that they give tours every hour. So
Right.
we just thought we'll slip in.
sure.
That was the original intent. I mean, we're winning it anyway. We're there and we're
Right.
sitting there. So
Come
we're
to
winning.
find out, they don't have any tours until 3 p.m. and we're like, well,
It's like 11 o'clock, 11:30.
that ain't gonna happen. But Leanne's not willing to just throw in the towel, so she grabs Drew by the nape and says, "Come with me."
You're going with me.
She
I'm
needs
like,
a little your backup. Drew's the biggest guy, so they go in. And who knows what's gonna happen? Come on, 10 minutes later with the lead tour guy.
The head of the tours, yeah.
Yeah, head of tours, and she proceeds to take us on a grand tour and had a great time.
They
A
were
lot of
just
excitement, very excited.
I mean, honestly, the first thing we talked to her, we're going in there thinking, okay, this is going to be awkward.
She's
whatever.
humoring us, yeah.
And she was the nicest person I've met.
Passionate
Like,
about where she works.
She's like, well,
what
you're
she
talking to
do.
the right person. We're going to take care of you. And then goes back there and talks to so and so. I guess it was the owner. Is it
Right,
Ted?
one of the Hubers.
Ted,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And then make it work. And then basically they give us, we posted the video today of some behind the scenes footage for our patrons, so they're looking at it now. But it's awesome because we come out, we're like, let's go, and everyone gets in there and we start walking down, and the first thing we do, we walk down.
Yeah.
This is what's funny about this is we're going because obviously we want to see whiskey.
Yeah.
This guy is obviously a wine person, so we are
Wino.
definitely gonna. I wasn't gonna say wino. I
Quick
said wine
football.
person.
See ya, William.
But we're walking down the street, and all of a sudden, boom, he comes out.
There's a
Ted,
fork
the
truck.
owner.
One of the owners of this. I mean, and he's got an 800-pound pallet of
Grapes.
grapes.
Yeah, so he's driving the forklift, you know, it's like, oh yeah,
He's
these
busting his
these
ass.
just came in, we're taking them to the cooler to get them ready to juice them tomorrow.
Right.
And then she goes, here. And we all start eating the
Eating the
grapes.
grapes.
Chinese are like, this is amazing.
Even the
Here
grapes
we
are
go.
gonna
And
make
I'm
it to
like,
wine
this is the
tomorrow.
first impression. So we do this, we go in there, and then she takes us down, and we go right into I guess it was the first area of, and there's guys in there, they're working. We have to be careful.
Right.
Very, it's
They're
very
cleaning. They're spraying everything down.
But I mean, you guys can talk more to especially you, and maybe you as well, as far as the whole machinery there, because they obviously were crushing and cleaning and what'd you call it the other day?
De-stemming.
De-stemming. Well, there's another name for the
You
stem.
called the stem was called
Right.
something a ratchet or something like that, or
Yeah, the de-stemming, but the part of that the grapes grow on is called the rachis.
Ratchets.
the ratchets.
I
So
would
take it
say
off.
that when we were there, that 800-pound bin that he was putting in cold storage because, and I think they were save-alls, he said, but that morning they had probably processed, I would guess 10 of those bins
Yeah.
and had whatever those big stainless steel tanks that they were full, and they probably didn't have room for that one bin.
Mm-hmm.
They'd probably done 10 of those that morning, I bet.
Yep.
Wowza.
So,
Yeah, and those were picked that morning, you know, and they were done juicing by 11:30 in the morning,
Oh yeah.
and they're washing down because
Yeah.
they every morning they start out, they juice what they got, and
yeah.
they keep picking.
But you know, not that it's anything similar. It did remind me walking through that area where they had been working. They're spraying all the stainless steel equipment down. It reminded me if you've ever been in a working dairy, right? Working dairies, you milk cows as soon as you get through the line. You shut everything down and you clean it, and then you start the line back up.
Yeah.
And that's what they were doing. They were spraying everything down, and everything looked clean already. But I mean, then she took us right around the corner, and
To the brandy
there's
still.
this little bitty still. How many gallons was that?
It's
guy?
an 80-gallon still. This is the first still they ever owned.
A little bitty still. Man, I
And
wanted
they
it.
were in the process of making brandy. They were doing the hard cut of their brandy as we were standing there. So she goes over, grabs a glass, goes, "Look,
What
you guys
was
want to taste some brandy?"
what was the alcohol content?
161.
Yeah, 160.
And so they're getting the heads right. Off of their-
They were right in the hard cut.
They were in the
Oh, they're
hard
in
cut.
hard
They were
Yeah.
in the hard cut. Yeah, they were collecting that. Was going to be their brandy.
It honestly was really good.
Oh, it was so
it
good.
was
fruity,
really
and light,
good.
and floral. and
Very
just-
we
impressed.
talked to the master, I guess.
Yeah, he was doing the brandy distiller who was there. I don't know.
We talked to them for a good 20 minutes, and they walked us through this. And then one you mentioned too, the pallets in there that was kind of swishing around, and that was interesting in that. I've never seen that before. It was odulating the actual liquid in there.
Oh yeah, it was
Had
the
a
bu-
stir.
the-
Something
they
was
just
stirred.
Oh,
stirred
in the
it.
heart? I didn't see that.
In the
bin.
actual, yeah, and it was like doing this and stuff as it was coming
As it was
out.
boiling.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then the other thing that was interesting. So this is a local, farm to table, conserve where they can. So they use, I guess, chilled water. They use a water source to cool the condenser that was coming off the still, and they were collecting all the water that was coming out of the condenser into a big tub. That they were then, and so it was like 160-degree water, but that they then pump into their bin to be able to wash the equipment that they were going to use.
They don't waste anything.
They're not wasting that hot water.
No.
They're not dumping that down the drain. Or paying to recool it. They're just using that hot water to wash the equipment they just used to make the grapes. So the efficiency and the conservation of that water was an energy. The energy of that water was amazing.
And in any winery, cleanliness better be the top of the list.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if you get a
Like a dairy.
contaminated, you get some yeast growing in some corner of a
Which,
machine.
yeah, I didn't
it ruins the whole
realize that,
batch.
yeast can hop from bin to bin, right? You got to cap those things because it's in the air and that yeast hops over and it screws everything
As
up.
it bubbles, yeah. So
Yeah.
you see, if you've ever been to the Bourbon Trail and seen their big fermentation barrels.
Big, huge.
With their open top. They're open top
Right.
barrels. You walk up to, they'll allow you to dip your finger in it and everything. Yeah, you see all the bubble. And the
But that's
spray
because
come out.
that's the same yeast
Yeah, they're
strain
using the
across.
same
They
yeast
don't
across
care
the-
if it pops into the air,
Yeah.
right? But so then we kicked over to the distillery side, right? We walked in, the temperature changes, and now you're in.
It's like 20 degrees
we
warmer.
love. I want some whiskey, right?
They
And
have
they
a
got
cooker there.
One still, and well, I mean, they had a
Technically
20-foot
three.
column still, a real small junior column still that they
Yeah.
really don't use, and one pot still.
Yeah, 500-gallon pot still.
And if they're distilling, there's no wash specs. It's the
That's-
same still.
That's the still they use for the wash still, the spirit still, everything. It's like it's got to go. And they have vodka that is 7 times distilled. Well, it's got to go through that equipment 7 times because there's no like multiple
That's
stills
crazy.
that they can run it through.
They're very efficient. That's
Yeah.
for sure. That's
So
for sure.
all said and done, we finish our tour, have a great tour. The tour came with a tasting. We go upstairs to the tasting room, and they got a ton to offer on tasting. So we're all trying to do our homework together. You pick this one, I'll pick this one. We can
You went
compare.
wine, didn't you?
I
He
had-
did the
I
yeah.
had
Thankfully, we had somebody that went on the wine side because I wanted to get my wife a couple bottles of wine. So I had somebody to give me some
He
advice.
forced me.
Yeah, I twisted his arm. But while we're in the tasting, we had reached out to the gentleman that runs their storage,
Their
their
barrel
dunnage,
pick,
their
yeah.
barrel picks, and their cat. Well, he doesn't pick the casks, but he runs the barrel picks
The barrel
in the,
pick
in
program,
the
yeah,
program, in their rick/rack houses, if you will. And all of a sudden, he comes up and he gives us a tour of that, and
Yeah, that's a short way to put it, but yes, I mean it was
Yeah, so
an epic.
that's where it went to the
epic
next
venture.
level.
So,
Yeah.
so we were wrapping up our tasting up in the tasting room, and so he comes in and starts talking to us, and we talked a little bit because I'd met him when I was with Michael
Sunday evening, yeah.
in April, and so we were talking and we're going through whiskey or talking about whiskey. We talked about kind of where we are in whiskey, and we talked about the kinds we like and which of the we started talking about whiskey, and so he kind of gets an idea that we know what we're talking about, and then it's like he's like, well, would you like to go to the rickhouse and try some whiskey? I'm like, no, I don't want to do that.
Aw, nope.
That's what I said.
No, we don't
No,
want
we need to go back. We got time. We're not.
What a good experience. We had a great
we go.
time. I think that there's actually going to be some possibilities, some potential that we may follow in Sunday evening's footsteps and,
We'll
and
see.
maybe see if something
see.
can happen. But we definitely want to build a relationship with them because they're good people and they're doing good things for sure.
Super impressed. And let's go back. Speaking of press, let's go back and talk about the tasting because we got some bottles here. We all bought bottles.
Yeah,
all
yeah.
of us did.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
wine as well. And I will say that I think we all had some familiar bottles, but we all picked some different ones.
We did.
And
did.
just high level, we got some bottles here that we got some PX. We've got some.
This is Mike.
This is Michael's Scotch barrel finished
You helped pick
that
this
I helped pick
Right.
that one, and I've got a couple of my house.
What we got here? This is the PX, right? Or
This is the PX, yeah,
Yes.
Ryan PX.
So that's a rye finished in PX barrels. Very
Yep.
good.
what we got here?
That's just the bourbon finished in. Oh, it's the VDN.
The VDN, it's the orange.
Yeah, it's very. They're one of the only distilleries doing it. It's like they're the ones that really.
It's a unique niche for them.
started
and it's
this.
and it's delicious. And then honestly, the gin was great too. You had 2 different kinds.
They have 2 different kinds of gins. They have this one, and then they take this one and they finish it in
A barrel.
of some sort.
This
I
one,
can't
I
remember.
thought. Oh, that was the Vin.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
It's the
yeah.
VDN barrel.
Yeah.
So they take this gin
Well,
and
I
finish
thought
it
it
in
was-
these barrels.
Carl T. bourbon barrel. But
One
or
or
the
two.
other. But it was
I got to be
delicious.
honest with you. This is a gin and tonic gin.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I
If
got a
you
bottle
like
of
gin
that,
and
too.
tonics, you're gonna love this. It's gonna go great because it's very citrus forward.
So we had great tasting, and I will say I bought this bottle because one of the things what I loved about it, obviously, it's got coffee notes and PX notes that you're going to expect. But the lady that was walking me through this, the interesting thing about it was, they have their own things, right? They have their
Sure.
own little tasting notes, and you're like, listen, she dropped two or three little chocolate chips, and she also got.
Oh, she was playing
She
you.
did, and then she also got a little bit of this molasses that they have there too, and syrup. And she put that in there with the neat, just a little tiny bit. And I swear to God, it was an old fashioned without doing anything.
Just this?
Just this with that molasses. It was amazing. So I honestly, their liquid is really good. Their whiskey is excellent.
So the interesting thing I thought about the PX is I didn't get as much PX flavor out of it because you got that bourbon. Oh no, this is the rye, right?
That rye.
So you get
The
that rye
yeah.
spiciness, which brought down a lot of that grapiness that I normally expect
Right.
from PX.
Right.
But I think if you put an Oloroso in there, it'd be a little trickier Oloroso and rye. It'd be a little more tricky to get that to work.
If you're definitely to that point of chocolate chip, if you like chocolate sweet, kind of more of the sherry focus with a little bit of rye, whatever, this is a good bottle to have and then dessert factor, if you will. Right.
And their ryes are pretty spicy too.
Yeah, they are spicy. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Which that's why I think your comment about the Oloroso, the chance of hitting that one is probably a lot lower.
So that was the bottle that we were there with Mash and Drum. They had a bourbon in a Oloroso cask. That was like the Oloroso cask. I think was like barely emptied. I mean, it was like really juicy.
So it's wet, very
Yeah,
wet.
very wet.
Yeah.
And the bottle I purchased, I got the gin too, but I also got a bottle of the double oaked bourbon.
Right.
That's got a nice meaty
I liked
flavor
it better
to
than
it.
the regular.
Yeah, it's just got more flavors and things
Yep.
to it. So
I agree.
Craft Distiller of the Year 2022.
that's got to work. Yeah.
So I'm gonna open this guy up. I think it's got a little peel thing here. Let's see.
Yeah, it's got to peel down the side, I think. So it was a
Can't
good
leave the house
experience.
without
They're
buying
great people. They know their whiskey. We'd like to work with them, picking some barrels and maybe doing some work with them on some other whiskeys. So
We
Let's see what we
definitely
can do.
let them know that we are interested in American single malts. It's not really their sweet spot / forte, but they're interested and they're actually playing around in it a little bit.
Yeah.
So who knows?
in their early clientele, they didn't have a lot of luck selling it at their site and on where they typically sell their whiskeys because they're a bourbon distillery. And then when people see Starlight, think bourbon. I like the bourbon. I'm going to do that. So the single malts really weren't in their target audience. So that's fine. I understand that, and maybe we can change
Respect
that.
it, yeah. But all in all, it was a great time. It was awesome to see Scotch in the Bayou, Leanne and Mark. Every time we get together with them, it's worth it. So we missed them in Austin last weekend, so it was really
Yes.
awesome for us to catch up
They were
with
able
them.
to tell the story.
I like that. That's funny. Do you really? You sure?
He volunteers in tribute. That's
You
great.
sure? Yeah, Mark, you're right. I think it was good to see them. I just want to say cheers to Starlight. Thank you for being so gracious.
Thank you for the
hosts.
great hosting. Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
And I will say,
I will pour and drink to that.
Yeah, and this is actually really good. I forgot how good it was. I will say, if you haven't gone and you're close and you're thinking about coming to visit, this is something that you can go because it's not just about whiskey. It's wine. There's food. There's market. Honestly, I'm actually going to go back. Hopefully, the wife will go with me. We'll spend the weekend down there
Get some wine.
and just you could spend 2 days easily and check out everything there. So go check it out. Definitely worth the visit.
It's an
Highly
impressive place.
Highly
Got
impressed.
a nice cafe there.
Very impressive.
Yep, very good. I brought back one of their cinnamon roll breads. Oof, man. Yeah. that's
Oh
good
my
too.
gosh.
Yeah,
good
we had
bakery.
fun. We will be back. If you've got a chance to go, I recommend them. But let's turn this into what you've got over there. I have no idea. Tell me what you've got lined up for
I want to do
us.
this real quick before you
Real.
remove those. Hold on. Just a
Oh,
second.
you
I
wanna
didn't
give
get a good close up of these bottles.
Oh.
Sorry. So this is the. Which
This
one
is
we got
that
there?
VDN that you were talking about. This
Yeah.
is very orangey, orange rind, orange peel forward.
one, yeah.
Very different.
Drinking it right now. It's delicious. Really good. Handsome
So
orange.
It's
the,
got a
the way we were
beautiful
saying,
nose.
there
Beautiful.
aren't a lot of VDN barrels available in the world. So
VDN. What's it stand for?
it's French, I think.
What does VDN stand for?
I would not
It's
know.
Vino something or I don't remember what it is.
It's wine. Frank, you're the wine
Orange.
expert.
De l'Orange or something like that. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't think I'm an expert in anything, actually, but
You are.
Flip it
Oh,
around.
yes,
Yeah,
you
got
are.
The, yeah.
Tree
This is-
rats.
this is
and
the big one. Look
biscuits
at
and
that.
gravy.
Wow.
And the thing is, if you turn around, see the front of that is green, which if you've ever seen a Scotch whiskey barrel, you know there's a certain distillery that has that kind of
There
a
you go.
green color. We're not going to say what it is,
I
but
thought it was Vino. See.
De l'Orange.
Vino don Naranja.
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 So
Sounds like a book.
So
yeah.
yep.
I remember him talking about that, and it is, naranja is orange
Yeah.
in Spanish,
Spanish or something.
I believe, and so it's some sort of an orange.
It's got
wine
a
that
beautiful
they-
nose. It
does.
smells like
Honestly,
a creamsicle.
Let's be honest, guys. Are we bourbon people?
No.
We're not. I mean, we can appreciate it, especially now that Jason from the Master and Drum has opened her eyes a little bit, so for sure. But I will tell you, I came home with some bottles because I really enjoyed them. This bottle right here, I will pour and drink. It's delicious.
Yeah.
It's not super corn-born bourbon for me. It's light. It's
Well, 'cause
nice.
It's the rye.
It's the rye. It's got the orange. It's got all kinds of stuff going on to it. It's really nice. Okay. You guys ready for this?
It's interesting.
Yes.
Yeah,
Rinse,
tell me.
rinse your palates.
Talk to us. Talk
Oh.
to Teddy Bear.
I'll rinse the palate when I get there.
So as I mentioned the other night,
Hey, Lana.
Frank and I were experimenting, and it was interesting because we started off with this bottle, which is Porter's bottle, right? This is the Starlight. Because we're going, and I'm like, hey, you've never had it. We started with that one, and then I thought, you know what? Let's talk about this, and talk about this, and talk about this. You know, I brought him a few different bottles, and I asked him, you know, well, don't look at them, just try it. And he gave me his thoughts, and it was really interesting. I thought, I wanted to see what you dummies think about this as well. So I've got 4 glasses here, and what I want you guys to do, and I'm a victim too, because I have no idea what is here. We've got gold, green,
So
blue,
wait a
and
minute.
black.
You have more of an idea than I do, because you know the 4 bottles.
That's true.
All right.
But I have
so
no idea which glass is which.
I think I'm being set up.
Set up.
Whatever, you're fine. You're fine.
White Walker. Lagavulin 16. One Giant Leap.
You're wishing for the one giant leap. You ask. So we've got 4 glasses here with whiskeys in them. I will say that you can ask questions. I will answer them as much as possible, but you need to figure out which is which. And I'm not going to say you don't need to talk about specifics other than let's just say kind.
What do you mean type? Like whether it's bourbon, rye? We just know these are 4 whiskeys.
The 4 whiskeys.
That's all you're telling me.
So you're going to tell me what you think is which, and then we can talk through that afterwards.
So, but not tell it like what distillery you're in.
You don't have to. If you want to call a distillery, you can.
True percent. This is a setup. I know.
Oh, it's totally
Talk to
different.
me, Goose. Damn.
This one's a plastic handle. No, it's not. That's a real sweet, nice.
I will say that the 4 I poured you are all very kind of in the same profile in a sense. You're not going to go from an Isla to Sherry. You're not going to get. They're all similar. But what I'm interested here is I want to hear your notes and what you think is which
Well,
and
so
why.
then wait. He's already flipping through this. What are we doing? How are we going to do? We're going one at a time.
Do one at a
All
time.
right. We'll start with the black.
I
You
got-
already
He
started.
gets excited.
I have a lot more fun to compare and contrast because that's comparing is how I kind of pull my flavor notes. Like that. So when I first tasted that one, I didn't know what to look for. But when I tasted this one, I'm getting more like apple orchard fruits, and now it's more like deeper grapes and purples and things like that. So that helps me calibrate my palate
Okay.
or my nose.
And you can participate too. I don't
Okay.
know what they are, but you're welcome to smell and taste.
I wrote them down, and I still don't remember.
This
which
smells like a Highland. to me.
That's how we are too. Normally.
That's the
It
reason I
smells
wrote
like a
it
Highland
down.
Scotch to me.
So what does that mean?
It's light. It's airy. There's a fruitiness to it.
Heather.
Sure, but I honestly,
There's a little bit of maltiness
I hate
in
to
it.
say it, but I was actually getting ready to call a distillery, and I don't want to go that far.
I think you can.
Call it.
If you feel like it, you should.
Yeah.
I was
call
gonna say Glencadam.
Wow. So I don't know Glencadam well enough to. So yeah, that one is a little bit malty, a lot of.
Can we are we tasting now, or
lot
are we
of grape
just,
sweet.
just nosing?
Sure, taste.
Billy, that's awesome. Honestly, we're not going to steer you wrong. I mean, Michael said this from day one, and we took a while to believe him too. And I'm telling you.
So
good
wait a
stuff.
minute, hang on though. You're out on the East Coast, so if you're coming to Louisville to go down there, you better be hitting us up, Philly.
So the thing that I think is so interesting about
Wait a minute.
Starlight is they have an incredible array of casks that they use, and that is, I think, unique to bourbons. They do lots of cask finishes with brandies.
That's a great point.
Different PX, and so their cask person is really like casting a wide net to find these casks to bring that uniqueness in, and then they're putting their bourbons, their rye in them, trying to work them so that you get the balance between the whiskey and the casking. Their cask selection is.
They have a leg up. They're doing a great job on casting.
This black one, I think it's got a really wonderful long finish. It's an ex-bourbon vanilla sweet finish.
No, you gonna get any sherry on it?
Not really. I get vanilla. I get sugar.
See, I was getting a little bit of PX sweetness kind of thing on the grapiness, but the malt, it's very subtle if it's there. It may be like partially.
It's not White Walker.
I feel like there's a little bit of sherry there too. I mean, the nose I didn't get it. The nose I would agree with you, but on the palate for sure, sweet cotton candy, kind of vanilla,
Sure.
kind of
Definitely-
caramel.
definitely not a sherry
but
bomb.
there's a hint of sherry there.
You got a hint of it? All right.
Maybe it's a tad.
You pass her back. That Durgun killed Ed
So,
Rollins.
so Tom was asking if they have tawny and ruby port casks being used for the bottles. I think those are actually their port that they make.
Yeah.
So they use big casks to age. They make their own port whiskey, and I don't know if I assume they make their own tawny as well, but they make their own port wine at the winery.
Mm-hmm.
Which we couldn't get into those casks, and I really wanted to.
Did we ask?
I don't think we asked.
Oh.
Hey, we were just happy to be there,
Yeah.
and honestly,
Sure, all right.
Yeah.
So
Great
we
job.
went through Rickhouse 2, and we walked through 3 to get to the Andrews Enclave or whatever we called it.
and they're expanding too. I don't want to get into details, but yes, they're expanding.
That
So
leaves a sweetness. What little bit I know about it leaves a sweetness in my mouth. Somewhat.
So, I don't get any of the fruity notes from a sherry finish or on it. On the nose, I can see where you're coming off with that, maybe a slight PX finish in it, but I don't get it on the palate.
No, I think you're right. I think it's distillate.
I think
I think it's
I
barrel.
get
Bourbon barrel.
ex-bourbon barrel. It's that sweetness, that sugar.
I would agree.
You're going to get vanilla and sugar notes from a bourbon
That's
barrel.
a tasty whiskey. It's real light. It's
Maybe
not
some
smoky. It's not
caramels.
peaty. It's not heavy, groovy fruit. It's those light.
It's good.
Yeah, light.
It's really
grapiness,
tasty.
but
I moved on.
I think
But-
it's mostly distillate.
But let's just go on this. Scotch.
I didn't have that in my mind when I tasted it. Very possibly. Yeah, it's definitely
Scotch or
not a
not?
bourbon. Probably not an Irish. I would say Scotch. Yeah, that's
I'm
Scotch
saying
profile.
Scotch. I don't know. I don't know.
Scotch
I don't know
profile.
what my goal is here. If I'm being graded on the things I say,
It's
or if I'm
Scotch style.
supposed to pick something.
I'm not gonna say. I'll rank them, but this I will say
Okay.
my notes stuff. But I will say the first thing I will say on this is bubble gum, like right on the
Yeah.
nose.
Grape. Yeah, really light grapey fruit kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And the palate actually equals the nose too, like very similar.
So D, you're getting all French on me, man. You're losing me. I have no idea if that's a compliment or. But I take dummies as enduring. I resemble that.
That is definitely a Highland floral Highland style. I'm not going to commit to a
rinse.
distillery, but Highland style floral light apples and fruits and honeys and that kind of flavor.
I hate to say it,
No
but it's
corn.
extremely smooth. Like it's so.
So it could be an
Balanced
Irish.
well.
Are you saying that just to freaking throw
He's
me
saying
off?
it's an
when you
Irish.
say-
No, it
I
is
see. I don't
completely
trust
I
Drew
got
at
corn.
all.
I got corn on that.
I
one.
don't
You did
trust
not get
Drew.
corn on that.
He thinks he's being set up tonight.
I do. I really just don't trust Drew right now. I don't know why. I'll tell you what. When it comes to blind tastings, we work well together. Drew and I can feed each other the right notes, and we're usually going to be right. We beat the
I don't know
test
about
dummies.
that.
We beat the
Maybe.
test
I guess
dummies.
so. I guess so. Barely. If you call that, I think the trivia more than the tasting.
So, you said apples on this, Andrew. You said Highland apples, and
Yeah,
I said bubble gum. That's the first thing that came out to me.
definitely bubblegum cotton candy.
Yeah.
That's all in that. It reminds
Yeah.
me of one of those SMWS, like light blue labels or something. Really, it's not linen. I'm not getting a linen on it, but
Let's just
I
go
don't
through.
know, a little bit. It's almost not, but almost like a I was gonna say a dryer sheet.
So let's go
But
through
yes,
these a
now
little
that
quicker,
fruitiness is
and
coming
then
up.
we'll come back through and I'll ask some questions. But don't worry about like honing in on a specific yet. But just go. The biggest thing is going through your flavors, what you like, what you don't like, what you think it is from a palate and
What did you say? Did you say the S word?
smooth.
He did say smooth.
It's smooth.
All right, you're right. You're
You're
right.
right,
You're
you're
right.
right.
You're
I
right.
knew
You're
it.
right. You're right.
so the green glass has a more subtle flavor, subtle nose, a little bit of
So
vanillas and things.
this blue is smooth. It gives me the impression that it's potentially triple distilled, but I gotta be. It's heavier. It might be smooth, but it's thicker. It's
Think it's oily?
heavier. It's heavier than an Irish normally is to me. Triple
I would
distilled.
agree. You're right.
It
This-
smooths it, but it lightens it.
Yeah, this is not like ethereal and things like that. It's
Exactly.
got more flavor to it.
All right,
It's a
so
bourbon.
it's a bourbon.
Green's a bourbon.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say blue's not a bourbon. No,
You gotta
no.
hit that green. It doesn't nose like a bourbon, but it tastes like a bourbon.
It doesn't. No, it's like, I
Noses
want that on
like-
a T-shirt.
It noses like a scotch and tastes like a bourbon.
This, I don't nose like a bourbon.
It's good. Delicious.
It is tasty
Really good.
because
Okay.
it doesn't have. It's not overpowering with the corn. I think that I don't know if it's a maltiness or when I initially noticed it, I got a little bit of sour on it, but sour is not the right.
Yes, it is.
It's
That
not
sourdough.
Sourdough. Okay, sourdough.
Sourdough.
Which that has
That's
some
a
sweetness to
sourdough
it.
bread right
It has
there.
some sweetness and some yeastiness
What,
in there.
what do you think?
That hits me in the
On the
around
crawls.
the front of my tongue like a wine that maybe the acid isn't balanced just right in.
Oh,
When I first,
so some acidity.
yeah, I don't know why, because I'm not like you guys, but that's where it first hit me.
So
You're-
oily too, maybe?
See,
It's a little bit oily. I
that,
think.
that's where your palate is beneficial here. It gives us a different perspective.
It's corny. It's
Yeah, I'm not
corny.
gonna
That's
lie. I
just 'cause
agree
I
with
said
you
it was
guys so
bourbon.
far.
There's
It
a
has
corn
a
in there.
bourbon quality, but
There's
but it
corn.
doesn't. But I will say it doesn't come off like woo, that's a bourbon. It comes off like that's a bourbon. Like you're questioning it a little bit, right?
And it kind of stays
Nope,
in the front of
not
my
at all.
mouth.
You would no problem bourbon.
No bourbon.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
Do you,
it's
but do
absolutely
you like
bourbon.
it or no?
There's something with the finishing on it that's not.
Not being a bourbon guy, right? That's not my forte. I'm never gonna reach for that first. I can drink that. I wouldn't. If I came over and you poured that for me, I wouldn't be like, oh man, I just pour it in a tree, in
Throw it
one of
in a
your
cask.
throw it in a cask or pour it in a plant. No, I'll drink it. It's pleasant enough. I respect it enough. It's not gonna be something I reach for
I
because
enjoy
it's
it.
just not
I'm
my
not
my
a bourbon
go-to.
guy either, but I enjoy it. It's light on the corn side. I don't think it
I
has.
would agree.
It has
Sure.
more going on to it than you think it does.
You're right. It's definitely light on that.
I think the acidity and that whatever condition that is kind of brings down that corn, and I think it's better.
This
Way
tastes
better.
to me. I am not a bourbon knowledge person at all. Like I don't know a lot of bourbons, but I will say that this tastes like to me like a high quality bourbon. Like it's matured.
It is refined.
Hang on
It
a
is
second.
refined.
I want you to really get a nose. I want to take another drink, but really get in your nose. To me, if I give it a really hard nose, I'm like digging really deep in it. I get like a youth, like it's a little bit underage.
Just a
Like
little
it
young?
it
Really?
needs a little bit. There's a note on the very bottom of that nose that just says, Man, if you'd have given me a little more time, I would have been good.
It might have moved off your tongue and went farther back in your throat for a finish or something, because it stays right in the, kind of in the front of my mouth a little bit.
Yeah, there's a fairly young corn on it, but it's not like just like kicking you in the face like a brand new sweet corn.
And when we were tasting it, I'll just throw this in the other day, the fella that said, if you don't like it, just take your glass and just pitch it over against the barrels. And there's no way I could do that.
No.
I just couldn't do
No. That's not,
He
that's
was
not
he
good.
was he was pouring them right out of the cask, and he's like, "You don't have to finish it, guys. If
Yeah,
you're done
just-
with it, just throw it." You know, and
throw
he's
it over.
pitching whiskeys flying through the air.
I couldn't
And
do
I
it.
started doing it because I'm like, if I start drinking everything he's pouring straight out of these casks, I'm not walking out of here.
It's true. What you got? Gold.
So the gold, I got an off on the nose.
An
I was
off?
like, I'm not sure I'm gonna like this. But
So-
when I tasted it, it's a different whiskey.
He's not wrong. The nose is like, ooh, that's
It's
weird.
high ABV. It's
So right now
sweet.
you're
it's
questioning whether the
scotchy.
milk's gone bad.
It's like sauerkraut in the nose.
Absolutely.
There ain't nothing wrong with sauerkraut.
I know you're gonna like it.
On the nose, it's
Good
sour.
Polak right here.
But the palate is way better than the nose.
Yeah, sauerkraut would
It's-
go good with tree rat.
It's middle vanillas.
Ain't nothing
it's
wrong with tree
I
rat.
knew he'd put it in there somehow. He put it in there.
Squirrel biscuits and gravy. Is that what you did?
Squirrel biscuits and gravy.
Man, I tell you what, you're not wrong. There's a big difference between the nose and the palate on that.
Nose is just.
Big difference.
It's like
I-
milk's
If you poured this for me and I wasn't sure and it's really expensive and I smelled it, I'm like, the milk's gone bad. That's not right.
I wish I had an extra hand.
So, but you taste it, it's a different story.
So Frank, what are you getting on the nose? You drink wine all the time. Is this like an bad yeast or what's your view on it?
When I open my wine, I use two different kinds, and I don't have barrels because they're too expensive, but I use sawdust, and I have premium sawdust and toasted sawdust, and the premium sawdust is just like a fresh cut 2x4 kind of.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
And that
That what you're
smells
getting
to
at.
me like,
Fresh oak.
yeah, fresh. I smell fresh oak in that right off the bat.
Oh, okay. Maybe
for
that's
some
what it is.
reason.
Yeah, I could see that.
So-
A young new barrel.
It's a really dry finish too.
So do you get a green? When you say fresh oak, is it a green wood or is it a wet? Is it a dried oak? Because that's a big difference to me. Sometimes I smell a greenness in it.
Well, usually the toasted oak or really toasted barrel, you'll get the heavier caramels in it.
Yeah.
And I think the fresher oak, you get more vanillas up front.
Okay.
And a lot of my wines, I'll add a little bit of each to get both.
The
of
right
them.
balance.
And one of them you get a lot of old leather out of after it's set in there a while, and more. The other one you get more of a new leather taste or new leather smell on the nose, especially.
Okay.
Maybe not necessarily on the palate, but
Let me have a look at this.
Interesting.
I'm no expert like you guys.
So, but if you're a wine guy, you're just as much of an expert when it comes to
Yeah.
nosing and palating as I am, right? Your palate and nose is just as sharp as mine.
That is easier than the last one when I drink it.
It's
It doesn't hit you. It doesn't hit
really
me right
tasty.
up around the front
There
of
is
my
something
tongue or
funky
anything.
going on here.
there is funky.
There is a funkiness going on in this.
Did you wash your
Sauerkraut.
glasses?
Sauerkraut. He's like, I like it.
Oh, I don't know.
You gotta catch up here.
So I'm trying to think on the nose. Yeah, yeah, it's bourbony. Yeah, it's amazing how that corn comes out. Corn and new oak comes out.
Ooh. Okay.
Sauerkraut and pork roll.
So,
you
The
talked
nose is going to turn half of you off, and you're going to walk away and be like, I don't know, that was dirty sneakers.
about- Yeah, I wouldn't.
But give it a sip, and you'll be like, all right, wait a minute.
Yeah, no kidding.
Come here. We can be friends.
Yeah, the palate is so much better than the
It is.
nose. It's
It definitely
crazy.
And if
But-
you don't like it, just throw it across the room.
No, I'm not. You're sleeping over there. I can't do that.
Don't do that.
No.
But no. Here's the challenge. You've already had this on your palate, so you knows that you gave. Now nose it again and tell me if you get the same thing.
Oh, that's a fair
Because
point.
you don't. Once you've put it on your palate, that nose changes, and all of a sudden you don't get that dirty, sauerkrauty, dirty sneaker offness, right? Because there was some of that. I won't deny it. But there's not after I go in, after I've palated it.
I get, and you're probably right, and now I get some leathers out of that right off the bat, I think.
It's interesting how much your nose changes after you've
Go ahead,
tasted
taste it
right?
if you want to taste it.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
So-
always.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because so when you're running beehives in Indiana this time of year,
That a boy, John.
you get a really sweat sock smell coming off your hives because they're bringing in goldenrod. So goldenrod smell as it's curing, the honey is curing. It smells awful, but the honey it produces is really tasty. It doesn't taste anything like it smells as it cures. But I guess all that the gases that are coming off it are removal of that weird flavor. But
We're starting with, I just put water on that. So we're starting with black right now. So let's go through this one more time. And I think you guys are probably already kind of made your decisions, but go through it.
no, I haven't.
Then what I want you to do is rank them in your favorite, and then we'll call them out what they are.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna have to do the tail of the tape again on this. I'll save some time here.
So
Same thing.
black's my wheelhouse right now, right? This is. I couldn't tell you. In the beginning I said it was Glencadam. There is a bit of a sharing. There's something red. There's something that's going a little bit closer to my sweet spot right now. I can't tell you the distillery, but it tastes a lot like everything I reach for on a nightly basis. And you know what I'm drinking on a nightly basis. We get together on Xbox every night, and I'm grabbing, whether it's Glendronach 12, whether it's I'm always everything I'm grabbing. Some of it's just naked malt, whatever. There's a sherry influence to it. There's a chocolate note here. There's definitely a red berry note. It's not Oloroso. It's a little fresher than that.
Hey, Talker, come on. We're going through this. So I will say, this.
They cut off.
I will say this, just to keep things quick. Yellow stands out big time on the nose compared to the other three, no doubt at all. However, palates only, all three of these are delicious. I really like all of them. It's actually it's really splitting hairs here on your profile here and what you think is best. I really do. I haven't had black yet, but I mean, all three of these are good.
Yeah, the palate for sure. So when I tasted the blue a little earlier, and I'm with the water. I'm getting a little what I envision green grain influence in the blue. It could be young whiskey. It probably is single malt that I know nothing about, but I'm getting a little that grain flavor that I don't particularly prefer in the palate. The nose is still purple fruit. It's fairly one-dimensional. Probably not my favorite. I'd say the Black Glass. It's a good whiskey. I enjoy it. The nose is great with water. The palate is tasty. Some maltiness in it. Good balance of
So,
oakiness in it too. Yeah, that's well done.
all right. So can I give a disclaimer? I'll go first if I can give a disclaimer.
Are you done with all of them?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, what's your favorite? What's your
I
order
said
first?
I'm going to give you my disclaimer, but
Right.
I'm good.
Here's the thing. My disclaimer is I'm going to give you my rank here just like it's King of the Hill. In other words, right now, in this moment, what I find most interesting to my nose, my palate, and what I want to drink. When this is over and I get to pick a glass, which one am I going to reach for, right? So, black that's my wheelhouse. It's in the center. Yeah, that's great. I love black. I drink black every night. You pour it for me and I'm good to go and I'm going to have it. But I'm way more intrigued by blue and gold. Green's coming in last. It's there.
So
you pour it for me, I'll drink
This
it.
is you so far.
Right. I don't know. I honestly, I really like the nose on blue. The nose on blue is very interesting to me. It's so enjoyable. It's fresh. It's light. There's some fruits. There's some fresh fruits on there. Some apples, some pears. It's just I want to smell more of it. Gold, on the other hand, has an interesting palate. It was interesting, neat. It's interesting with water. It's different. So I'm torn between these. This is my go-to on a nightly, but I don't want it tonight because that's my go-to on a nightly. So I'm stuck between these two.
Interesting. So you're not going with this as your number one?
No, I'm not because that's what I drink every night.
Okay.
I drink.
If you drink that every night, you are.
This is
a
my.
lucky man.
This is in my freaking wheelhouse. That's a go-to dram. This.
No,
And this, I'm gonna go blue, gold. I'm gonna go blue, gold, black, green.
Okay. Fair
And
enough.
I love black because that's probably a go-to.
That's an interesting turnout. So remember your order. So blue, gold, black, green is you.
Blue and
What do you
gold,
got?
black, green. I'm a Notre Dame fan. I can remember that.
Keep it
All right.
short.
So, black, I think, is the most complex and interesting whiskey here. I will pick that as number one. Blue is not particularly good for me, so I'm going to put that number 4.
What?
Gold, the nose, I very much dislike, but the palate is really worth trying. And the green, man, where did I put the green?
So the bourbon. We
So-
all know it's bourbon.
So we know it's a bourbon, but I think it's a bourbon I could drink more frequently because it's not overly sweet corn. It's just kind of balanced better. This is off. The nose is off. This is better nose and palate. Yeah, so I'm going black, green, gold, and blue.
All right, I'm gonna go because you're gonna reveal the answers, and then we'll talk about your preference too. But I'm going to go. I'm with you. I think as far as all the above, like my favorite, the black stands out. Like it's just
Yeah.
perfect wheelhouse.
It is.
I think it really comes down to these and profile specific here. I think gold. I know it's a bourbon. Not normally going
You
to
mean
this.
green?
So, thank you, green. Yes, I'm holding green.
This
Um,
is gold.
Yes, thank you, thank you. Green is a
colorblind.
bourbon, but I like it. I mean, I will drink this.
Yeah,
But
I'll drink it.
in this profile, it's last, right?
Man,
So-
no, it's
Right.
not.
It
No,
is.
not.
So it's between these two, and I think it's tough because I will say the nose is not good on gold.
Do they know what these are?
No.
Damn, I wish they did because I would
The,
love to read
the
this
nose
color.
is not good on gold, but the palate is very good, and it's
Baby.
it's got a lot of wood influence. I think it's really tight between the two because I think the blue here has the nose and the palate are very similar. They're smooth, and I think that I like it, but I like what the golds give me in the palate.
I know.
And I think this is my order: black, gold, blue, green.
So what I did black, green,
Yes,
gold, blue.
it's what you did. Frank, do you have any order here specific?
I'm going to start with the last one first because the green is the one that I didn't like on my tongue. The taste isn't bad at all, but that's not. I'm
It's
not.
not what you were looking for.
In this lineup,
Yeah.
that's
but
fine.
in this lineup, this is the one that hit me in the front of the mouth, and it basically stayed there, which I didn't really like that. I'm not saying that it didn't taste good. The other three, it would just be a guess for me to put them in an order, but this would be my fourth.
So,
All right, so then
you're
guess.
1, 1, 1, 1.
Eeny, meeny, miny,
So
go.
give a quick nose and pick and choose on that. Yeah.
Oh, he gets an
I
extra
tell you what,
nose.
this is good.
It's great on the
As long as you
palate.
don't, as long as you don't smell it.
It is
And
great on the
that's
palate.
terrible that you have to avoid the nose. So one of the things I love about a whiskey is I love just sitting there nosing it.
Yeah.
I cannot do
I mean,
that with
the
gold.
palate's delicious. The
So-
nose,
You're right. I am with you. There are some whiskeys
can't stand to
I
smell
will
it.
literally smell for an hour.
Yes.
I not even drink it. Just I can't
that's-
get my
it's a
nose
fair,
out of it.
It's a fair point. Like if you poured me that, I'd be like, I'm not drinking that just because of the nose.
This is very easy to drink,
Yep.
and it's very
The gold.
good. I like the flavors in this. I think I would probably probably be my order.
So he's with me.
Black. Yeah.
Black.
He and I are aligned.
Yeah.
That would be my order, I think.
Okay.
So,
So,
black, gold, blue, green.
So real
And
quickly,
if I wanted something light, I would change these two. If I
I'm
wanted something
100%
a little
with
bit
Frank
later,
here.
I would change
Yes.
those two.
so quickly, any guesses on which is what? And let's not be distillery like type.
No, so
Scotch, bourbon.
Irish bourbon.
Irish.
No. Scotch,
We're
Scotch.
going to order from this right here.
Scotch, Irish bourbon.
Scotch, Irish bourbon.
And I don't even know if that's really an Irish or not. I just think that's got the most potential to be an
That
Irish.
could be an Irish or a blend. I don't know.
I think this has got the most potential to be an Irish. It's a little thick. It's not as light as I want it to be for an Irish, but okay, there you go.
And I'll say again, Drew didn't pay me off tonight for.
So I don't know. I have a feeling I know the answer to this, but
You have
See,
a feeling.
Drew is cheating. This
that's
is
why I know what was poured. Just quit looking.
I'm cheating.
boy.
Yes.
So what is it? Gold is what? No, come on, don't
Yes.
cheat with us.
I'm making sure I know I'm wrong. Yes. Okay. So I was right. All right. So first off,
What's black?
green. You might want to hold it up there.
Jefferson's?
Is bourbon a blend of straight bourbon whiskeys? Very, very small batch. This is small batch.
Where did you find that?
Quick story on this.
That's agency, though.
I was in, yeah, there's a story behind this. I was in Costco last week, picking up my bushes.
At Costco.
Kenneth Kirkland.
Kenneth Kirkland. And this gentleman and his wife were there talking, and I'm just, you gotta go to Whiskey Owl. That's just what you do. I don't need anything, but I'm gonna look.
Yep.
And he was like, "Do you like whiskey?" I'm like, "Yeah, I kind of like whiskey."
Who are you talking to?
Some guy in Costco.
Some
Somebody
random
didn't
Costco
know.
guy.
He goes, I go, yeah. He goes, have you ever had this? I'm like, mm-mm. I'm not a big bourbon fan. He goes, I'm going to tell you what, this is my favorite bourbon of all time, blah, blah, blah. It goes over 4 equators, yada, yada, yada. I'm like,
It goes over 40.
that's what he said. It's aged at
aged
sea.
on shit.
Yeah, so
Aged on
And we
shit.
live on a flat earth, and
I don't know. I bought into his spiel. I'm like, screw it, I'll buy it, right? So I bought it, and he and I poured it the other night, and I was like, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
it's not as
Number
corny
two.
as
It's not super
number
bourbon.
2.
Yeah.
So, yes, we were right on that. Okay,
And
so,
I'm surprised I picked that last tonight after what we did.
Really?
tonight.
Interesting.
yes.
I'm surprised
So-
you picked it number
All right,
2 being
next
in
up.
the
So
last
you
bottle.
said something earlier on, and you called it out, but I don't think you realize it. You said triple distilled.
I freaking
Green spot.
told you. Told you that was the Irish.
Yes.
That was my last.
Yes. Yes.
That's
you
good.
didn't
That's
like
good.
it.
That's good.
I liked it.
I did it. I
It is
did
super
good.
smooth.
I'm getting some
That's my
green.
wife's favorite.
Yeah,
on the
graininess in it.
spots.
It
Yeah.
is smooth, very smooth.
Yes.
Even what I
So-
know about it.
One more less guess on gold. You see where we're going here.
No. Talk to me.
Ah!
Yeah, the nose is terrible on that.
It's
the,
not-
the palate's
The
pretty
nose
good.
is not great. I mean, I know we did a review on it.
So
It
that
didn't
is
smell that
single
bad.
That's
That
verified
single-
American,
it's American
single
single
malt.
malt.
It's
So
a-
that
it's an
explains
MS.
why the palate's right. The nose
Right.
is
So
not.
I was. This is why it's interesting because I wanted to see what you guys said, and we all kind of thought the palate was great because you know what? It's American single
It's a
malt.
single malt.
It's a malted.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, that's interesting, right?
Yep.
'Cause
So their nose is off, but the palate is good. It's
obviously,
very
there's
good.
no filling you tarts
You
because
fucker.
you know it's Glenmorangie.
I know.
You knew it was a Scotch.
I know, and that's what I said. It's an
No, you
easy.
said go can 'em.
Well,
It doesn't matter.
pretty freaking.
Doesn't matter.
It's not. This is a go-to, and you're like, oh, that's your go-to every night. It's a freaking $35 bottle. Hell yeah, it's a go-to every
So
night.
you knew it.
No, but I'm saying as far as
Okay.
profile, that's what I could drink that every night. That's fitting every
Well,
night.
it's still our bourbon king of the hill.
It's still a King of the Hill when it's
So when
ex-bourbon.
you guys, I didn't know. Honestly, I had no clue what he poured and when. And when you guys first started smelling and drinking this, and I was like, oh, they're on the Scotch immediately. And as soon as I smell it and taste it, I'm like, yeah, they've got the Scotch.
So to clarify, Glenmoe 10 was the black glass.
And
We
we,
all
said
agree.
Scotch, and we said Scotch.
we all agree
agreed
except for
Scotch.
you because it's your normal wheelhouse.
Right. I mean, I loved it. The only reason I didn't do it is because it's a flavor profile I have on a nightly basis.
All three of us. said
These
black.
interested me more tonight. Right now, I'm interested. I would much rather have one of these two.
So I would say with these, the Ocean Agency, that one is put together better. The palate was really good, but if the nose is better, it would hold ahead of that for sure. The green spot, man, that's crazy. I did not like that at all.
So guys, at the end of the day,
Well,
what was
tonight.
interesting about this is it's really not about like favorites, etc. It's just to talk about the differences between them, right? You talk about American whiskeys to, and I think this is telling for the most part. Like, we love malt.
Yep. American
There's
single
no
malts.
doubt we love malt. And then American single malt is our next favorite. And then we get into Irish. Like this, to
I'm not
me,
cheating, Tom.
this is
Like
exactly.
the oil out of the corn on this.
That's right.
Yeah.
This to me is
We
exactly
put it-
how I would stagger my
But we're
flavor
not throwing
profile.
this out.
No, I'll drink that.
No,
That's good-
honestly,
that's
to
good
be
drink.
quite
That's
honest
good
with you,
whiskey.
as far as bourbons are concerned,
that
and I'm not a
Costco?
bourbon guy. You're right. This has is stacked bourbons against bourbons. That's a very low corn profiled on the palate bourbon. It's enjoyable. This definitely has the
Green
feel
spot.
of an Irish. It's just a little bit heavier than some Irishes that I would expect,
Yeah.
like a yellowy spot.
Super smooth.
This is a doppelganger.
Bear
Too bad.
fight.
Too bad the nose is as off. I mean, I don't want to say off-putting, but it'll throw you a curveball, and you're almost like, I don't want to drink it.
Yeah.
Taste it first.
But when you taste it, it has more finish, I think, than
Move
ever thinks
forward. It's everything you want.
about.
So
Yeah.
this is my point, and it's crazy. I know we're kind of off the wheels here, but the thing is if you think about if you are a Scotch lover and you love everything about Scotch, American single malt is on the rise, and
And has potential.
watch out, Scotch. That's what I'm telling
That's
friends.
true.
And
That's
I mean,
very
That's
seriously.
a good point.
That's
so,
very
So
true.
the beauty of the creativity of the Americans with that single malt base, that's going to compete
I'm
against
telling
Scotch
you right
every day.
now, these two right now go hand in hand. I think this is a great easy drinker smoothness. It's obviously a little different, but it blends in better. Corn is corn.
Yep. It is
So
what it is.
It is
Yeah.
what it is.
No.
You guys had no doubt. Like it was.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Come
But
on.
the key with American malts is there's not a lot of acreage of malt yet in the U.S., so it's harder to get the American malt
True.
because it's got to be far north. That's why
Yeah,
Scotland,
there's only a
Ireland
few
go.
states. There's only a few states in this.
Yeah,
in the
Minnesota, northern Michigan, maybe
country. Northern Wisconsin,
yeah.
if you're lucky.
Yeah. Climate.
So let's go to the. I want to say hi to a couple of people that came in well after we were in. I saw Lana's here. There's been several other people that we just kind of missed you guys. John Kranz, I'm not sure if we called you out. Eric, hey, I saw Eric. You were drinking an old SMWS Bowmore. I'm jealous. Gregor, sorry I missed you, brother. Lots of love for you. We had a good show tonight. This was fun. It was interesting. I think it shows that everybody has a little bit of openness to different kinds of whiskeys, right?
I think
Look,
honestly, it shows American single malt has a lot of potential. That's what it shows me.
it does,
Yeah,
and
I
I
agree.
think I think we might start showcasing that a
We
little
need-
bit
we need-
more.
We need to keep
So,
that in. Yeah.
But anyway,
I want to say thank you again to Starlight. Awesome
Starlight.
for hosting us. We have
And-
more on the horizon with that. I want to thank Frank for being here tonight and showing up.
I
The OG is in
appreciate
the
it.
house. Great to see you again. And I want to say
You're
thank
good.
you
Appreciate
to
it.
everyone else.
thank you to Mike, Sunday Evening Scotch, for turning us on to Starlight and letting us have an experience like we did.
There's a reason Mike goes down there
yeah.
every quarter.
Yeah, I
And if
am definitely
anybody's
going
on the show tonight that's gonna make a trip down to Starlight, let us know because
Yes.
We'll meet you.
I want to go back.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll see you guys next week for another Keegan the Hill. Until then, cheers.
Cheers.
Lunch, y'all.
Sláinte.
Cheers to
Oh,
all.
you grab the blue glass.
Well, I'll grab a glass, you know that.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go.